From Kool G to the Rap Act, the Mafia heavily influenced rap and artistic rights. But how is this possible? While this may seem unlikely, understanding how the Mafia rose to power, later influencing Hollywood, explains this ripple effect. In 1920, following World War I, the United States passed the 18th Amendment, or Volstead Act, prohibiting the production and sale of alcohol, creating a massive profit opportunity for organized crime through bootlegging, violence, and syndicate control. The repeal of the Volstead Act ended prohibition and opportunities for illegal mafia monopolies, contributing to the 1929 stock market crash, which plunged the country into the Great Depression. During this era, widespread unemployment and foreclosures left many Americans desperate. Organized crime exploited this by supplying cheap black market goods and performing charitable acts, positioning mobsters as necessities, economic supporters, and heroes for the poor. Instead of viewing these real-life mobsters as dangerous criminals, the public saw them as anti-hero archetypes, sticking it to the man who did nothing for the little guy. This romanticization of the Mafia is what led to the development of Mafia movies in the film industry. According to ENSCO, as economic despair crippled the American public, Hollywood sought to resonate their disillusionment by producing films that portrayed the lives of gangsters and the corrupt social structures surrounding them. Movies like Little Caesar, The Public Enemy, and Scarface were produced and became instant classics, as they showed something that so many Americans crave: the wealth, power, and realism of the Mafia. However, as America entered World War II and emerged from the Depression, the gangster movie genre began to fade in popularity. So too did organized crime. But the 1972 release of Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather reignited widespread interest in the genre and mob culture itself. The film, according to Buffalo State Film Studies, makes a significant departure from earlier fictional representations of mob violence and creates a new, more appealing mythology of crime. While the 1930s mob movies stood as a symbol of opposition to the Depression era and economic corruption, Coppola's film became a timely symbol of resistance and creativity during the uncertainty of an economic recession in the 1970s. This success spawned many sequels and a resurgence of the genre, which persisted in the 1980s, with films like Bugsy, Goodfellas, Casino, and Donnie Brasco. By the 90s, the gangster movie genre had evolved to show more types of organized crime, not just the Italian Mafia. Other minority communities were showcased in films like Hard Boiled, Juice, and Boys in the Hood, with a rapid evolving and new musical genre of rap and/or hip-hop providing soundtracks for these films. This relationship came just in time for rappers to be inspired by the Mafia movie genre. Rap, a musical genre and vocal style characterized by rhythmic speech over a beat, was developed in African American communities in the 70s as a subcategory of hip-hop and gained significant traction in the 80s and 90s. It is defined by having complex lyrics, political commentary, and stories based on the lived experiences in these communities. Many rappers, seeing parallels to their own lives, identified with the gangster movie genre. Themes like success despite oppression, loyalty, family, and conflict between morality and criminality mirror social issues faced by many impoverished and over-policed Black communities. According to The Homage, within these dramatic renderings of mob life, rappers saw the dramatic arcs that reflected the very real dynamics of the street stories that were experienced, observed, or passed down through the generations. Rappers used Mafia films as symbolic frameworks to tell stories that mirrored their own realities, leading to the rise of mafioso, or in other words, gangster rap. One of the earliest and clearest examples of this subgenre can be found in Kool G rap music, who is regarded as the pioneer of mafioso rap. His albums, such as Roads to Riches, Wanted Dead or Alive, and Live and Let Die, feature gritty street storytelling and many themes found in gangster films. Also, in Fast Life, a collaboration with Nas, Kool G Rap directly addresses cinematic mob culture, opening the track with a sample from Scarface.
Yo, Real, it's about that time we expand, man.
Time is gone. We gotta expand.
and name-dropping historical mobsters like Lucky Luciano, Frankie Yale, and Bugsy Siegel. Of course, these cinematic allusions were not limited to Cool G rap. Raycon's Wu Gambinos drew inspiration from Once Upon a Time in America, and Mobb Deep's It's Mine sampled the Scarface theme. By combining mafia and/or gangster-like dialogue, characters, and imagery into their lyrics, these rappers created larger-than-life narratives and hyperbolic lyrics. The purpose of the storytelling approach was to call attention and highlight the problems and persuade action for the over-policing and criminalization of Black and brown communities. However, some people saw rap, specifically the gangster rap genre, as the confession of the artists, allowing for prosecutors to put rap on trial and distort the meaning and intent of rap music. The connection between storytelling within the gangster rap and the monolingual controversy over rap on trial depends how the prosecutors interpret the lyrics. According to Lyrics and Lyman, Rap Music and Criminal Prosecutions, gangster rap lyrics are increasingly used in criminal cases as evidence of intent, motive, or guilt, even when those lyrics are fictional, exaggerated, or part of a cultural expression. This is quite problematic, as rap is an art form rooted in storytelling and protests, particularly from African American communities that have historically faced over-policing, over-criminalization, and over-incarceration. Despite First Amendment free speech defenses, these systematic biases and misinterpretations have created inconsistent court rulings on the admissibility of rap lyrics in criminal cases. In an attempt to address this judicial inconsistency, Congressman Hank Johnson and Jamla Bowman introduced the RAP Act, also known as the Restoring Artistic Protection Act, a bill meant to limit the admissibility of evidence of a defendant's creative or artistic expression against the defendant in a federal criminal case. In other words, it amends the federal rules of evidence to limit the use of artistic expression against defendants. It was first proposed in the 117th Congress, which took place from January 3, 2021 to 2023, but the bill never made it to a full floor vote. However, it was returned to Congress on July 17, 2025 by Representative Johnson and Representative Bowman. In addressing why they brought it back, Representative Johnson stated, "This legislation is long overdue. For too long, artists, particularly young Black artists, have been unfairly targeted by prosecutors who use their lyrics as evidence of guilt, even though there is no evidence that the lyrics are anything more than creative expression. When you allow music and creativity to be silenced, you're opening the door for other realms of free speech to be curtailed as well. The government should not be able to silence artists simply because they write, draw, sing, or rap about controversial or taboo subjects." In spite of this uncertain future of the RAP Act, on September 20th, 2022, California passed the Decriminalization Artistic Expression Act, which is inspired by the RAP Act. This shows that it is possible to protect artistic expression and honor the First Amendment rights for artists within the gangster rap genre. One's artistic expression should not be weaponized against them in court, which compounds already complex issues of race and class in the criminal justice system. To wrap things up, let's recap how we got here. The Mafia, an organized crime group, was so inspirational to Americans and Hollywood during the Great Depression that it produced an immense number of Mafia-themed movies. This then influenced rappers to also react to and portray those characters and themes, using the ideas and parallels from those movies and their own experiences in their art. This was then seen in the emergence of the gangster rap musical genre, which leaned towards a more thematic approach of musical storytelling featuring hyperbolic lyrics and mafioso-like themes. In turn, this rap style was and still is weaponized in court against defendants. Thus, the term rap on trial was created to describe this weaponization and perversion of the meaning and intent behind the genre, leading to legislation reforms to protect First Amendment rights of artistic expression, one of which was successfully passed in California. Art is political, but so is history, and while mobsters of the 30s are gone, their impact is still ever present today, from new rap genres to artistic rights.